I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting, Moose Lake City Council, for Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, and I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone that's here tonight. Thanks for coming. Next item is approval of the agenda, additions and or changes. I do have one addition under 6M. This is just another item under there that I want to make sure I don't miss, and that's the resolution that goes with that land purchase. And it's resolution 26-08-01. It'll be nice.
26.
Oh, the first number is 23.
Thank you, Ted.
I was just testing Melissa to see if she got it.
I'd like to add an addition, discuss iPads.
Okay, so new business and iPads. Any other additions or changes? Being none, do I have a motion to approve? So moved. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 2, the consent agenda. 2A1 is regular city council meeting minutes for July 12th, 2023. Any discussion and or motion?
I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under consent agenda 2B, financial reports. Number 1 is the city accounts payable for July 2023. Number 2, the city financial statements, July 2023. Number 3, the liquor store profit and loss statement for July 2023. Any discussion, questions?
Motion approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 3, public comment. This time is reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. I think we have none tonight. Thank you. Moving on to number 4, departmental reports. 4A is the police officer, Chad Pattison, department's report for July 2023.
Good afternoon, everybody, members of the council, Mr. Mayor. If you look at the sheet that was printed out, we had 464 total calls for service last month, which is up about 35 from what we had in June. Self-initiated, there was 29 business checks. There was 29 in June also. 137 extra patrols, 132 in June. 106 traffic stops, there was 111 in June. Excuse me. And 77 community engagements, there was 91 in June. Calls to respond, we had 5 assist other agencies, which is down from June. There was 19 in June. 101 other calls for service that we took from Carleton County Dispatch, 911 calls, stuff like that. That went up. There was only 72 in June. And 9 medical calls that we had to respond to, where there was only 4 in June. Everything, as far as I know, went good at Agate Days. This is the first time I've actually been able to work Agate Days during the day, because I'm usually straight nights. It was fun to see. I couldn't believe how much the population goes up during that day. We had 2 minor incidents where kids got lost in the crowd during the scramble, but we found them pretty quick. So That's July's report.
Lots of people.
I was stunned how many people. I bet you. Yeah, that was insane. I mean, it was awesome though. It was great.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the report where it says Old Moose Lake School, there's quite a bit of them. Is that just,
So
circling through
we've
there, is there actual?
we've had a lot of kids breaking windows and crawling in. So we try and roll through there as much as we can to see if it looks like there's any new damage. If there's people in the school, rarely are we able to catch them. But we try and go in there 'cause sooner or later somebody's gonna get hurt. There's a lot of. I kind of got a layout of the school myself walking through there, and it's falling apart bad. And somebody's gonna get hurt, but they keep going in there. I mean, they'll find another window to break, or they'll. So yeah, especially at night, I try and roll through there because that's usually when they go in there at night. So yeah, if you see extra patrol Old Moose Lake School, then it means somebody's actually going and checking the whole building to make sure nobody looks like they're trying to force their way in.
Is there something we can do about the school or?
So I've been in contact with the school, old school property owner, so he's well aware. He was up last week. He keeps trying to do different things to reinforce the old structure, whether it be windows, doors, different access points. He is not from here locally, but he continues to come and try, and it's reactive versus proactive as far as his attention to the matter. And so we just continue to have open dialogue with him. He knows it's an issue. He's asked if the city's public works is open to securing the building for him. And at that time, with the liability, it's personal property, and so utilizing public monies to do so, his request was denied. So then he did come up again and just try and do as much as he could on his own.
Does he have a plan to?
I've
do
actually
something with
reached
it,
out
or-
for him for an update, and so I'm awaiting a response from him at this time.
He's working on several different options, but he's keeping that confidential right now.
On our end, we asked him if he could chain all the doors shut, and he has done that. And usually if we notify him that there's damage, he does come up and fix it, but there's so much stuff to cover that someone usually finds another way in. So,
Are there still windows that are wide open?
yeah. Well, no, as of yet, last night I checked. The two that I saw that were newly pulled open looked like that they'd been boarded up, but there's still a lot of windows that could easily be broken out and pulled back open again.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
There's so many entry points
Yeah.
to that building.
All that glass is so easily defeated to get in there.
Or are they just going in to do damage or just?
It's mostly vandalism and spray paint and just wrecking stuff that's in there, yeah. Or curiosity, but yeah, if you went inside there, yeah, it's vandalized beyond belief at this point.
Shane. Any other questions, discussion? Yes.
From a city perspective, I just wanted to thank the police department. National Night Out was a huge success.
Oh, yes.
And so it was a great community event. The police department did an exceptional job of hosting that, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, because we love doing that. Community events are our thing, we absolutely love
It's a
it.
great event.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Please pass it on to the crew.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Under Departmental Reports B, City Superintendent Bill Edner, July 2023.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Administrator Owens, outside of Agate days, we had a very busy but quiet month. It was actually nice. We were able to focus on what we were actually supposed to be doing instead of doing odds and ends that we get volunteered for and end up dabbling in things that we should do, but it's not on our agendas, right? It's not, most of that work is not in the budget. It's little odds and ends, it takes up a lot of time, an hour here, an hour there, adds up to a lot of days a month. So, this last month was really nice. We really did a whole lot of stuff done. We were able to start getting back into some things, so we'll talk about that in here. The water department, distributed 6.4 million gallons of drinking water in the month of July. The Minnesota Department of Health Source Water Protection Grant I got for the 7th Street lift station. That work is complete, but we're like right in the middle of it. It got completed on Monday. So you will have a full overview of that at next month's council meeting after all the paperwork is turned in and everything's taken care of. So, sewer department, 10.8 million gallons of wastewater collected month of July. You see those numbers, right? They're down big time. It's dry, right? We don't know if it's, with it being so dry, I mean, that helps, but I can't honestly say if, I think a lot of it is from our line that we got, because half of our storm sewer network is on the lake level in this town, in elevation. So I like to see those numbers, those are really good things, so something we gotta be pushing, for sure. Treatment facility, one that was crazy hot there 2 weeks ago in the 90s, we did a lot of right-of-way mowing out around the inner slopes of the ponds. It's a permit requirement we have to maintain from the PCA. And we were able to get all that done. It was great. The guys loved it because they were sitting there conditioning the whole time when it was 95. So, and we got a bunch of work done. So it was great. And nobody fell in. So that's huge. Street department, that's a plus, absolutely. Pothole filling, done monthly. Roadway badging, done monthly. We're doing some right-of-way ditch clearing, grubbing, and things starting this week. And we'll be doing that for another week or two. Our hot mix plant is currently down, so we will have a whole bunch of trucks kind of laying all over town that aren't completed. And once that plant fires back up, we'll be getting this done. Starting to pick away at some of our capital items for 2023. We're getting some of those started, some of them almost done, but we're just in the process. Next one will have a lot bigger update for them. Campground, cemetery park, all those, they're all kind of just running like they're supposed to. So we like to do that. But that's all I have for now. We have quite a bit to talk about later. Any questions? Yes, ma'am?
I have a question, I just have a comment. We had our family reunion down at the park, in the middle of June here, and a bunch of relatives stay at the campground, and I just want to say how wonderful the campground looked, running, the pavilion, the whole park down there. My relatives were just thrilled, and they said they want to have a reunion there all the time now.
Good.
So,
Really good to hear
pass
that.
that on to
Good.
everybody.
I will
Yeah.
absolutely
I mean,
do that.
everything is very nice and taken care of, and it's great.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I will pass that on. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Ted Shaw, go ahead.
The start date for the linings, that's later on, we can discuss that.
Start date for the sewer lining?
Yep.
So, our televising is a little backed up. We just got it completed.
So, I'm gonna back up
Sure.
2 steps back. Remember, we had a project on the table that was too expensive. We shifted gears 2 months ago to a different project,
Yep.
which then puts us back at square one. So now we're rushing, trying to still get a project in 2023.
So, it's
The
really
televising-
important. Oh, go ahead.
Nope.
It's really important that we get our televising done before. So at our last engineering meeting, we said, hey, let's get this televising done. It saves the city money in the long run, negates having a problem mid-project, costing the city more money. So in order for us to continue on with the process, our televising had to occur for that particular section. That occurred this week.
That got completed Monday. As soon as I get those files, which should be next Monday, I'm either probably getting them, I'm probably running to Duluth to drop them off, so we can get this rolling and then hopefully have a project, within a very short window.
There may be a need for a special meeting or some type of movement in between council meetings, but because we had to shift gears as far as location, project location, it did set us back a tiny bit. So we're gonna do our best to get the project out for bid as soon as possible. One benefit that the engineers spoke about is a lot of companies have their schedule set, their project schedule set for the summer, and so it could turn out to be that our project just is kind of gravy on top of whatever work schedules or project schedules some of these entities who do that type of work have. And so getting it done later in the season could work to our benefit. We don't know, but we're going to be positive and just keep pushing.
Very good, thanks.
You are welcome.
Under 4C, Municipal Liquor Store Departmental Report for July 2023.
Just a quick little add-on for the campground. We
Okay.
worked with Hinkley Inc. to get some new merch for in the office. We decided on this minimalist design and this forest green. So now we have hoodies on top of the sweatshirts and then beanies as well. And I'm really excited about how these turned out. I already bought one, so.
Oh, great, thank you very much. So those are in the little shed?
They're in the
For sale?
campground office for sale, yep.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, members of council, Mr. Mayor, city administrator. I'll be somewhat brief with the liquor store because I have a lot more coming up. Yeah, things are really good at the liquor store currently, so I'm happy about that. Mari's doing a great job. We're chipping away at the scheduling, so we've hired a couple of more part-time people. So we'll start ramping up our meetings and stuff. The air conditioning was fixed on the the bar side of the store, so that's a plus. Let's see, yeah, we called Gardner for that, and yeah, so that's all I have for the liquor store at this time. We'll have more for the liquor store in the pro session.
Any questions?
Is there anything else that has to happen with the AC? Are we patched and we're just?
Yeah, so it's working perfectly great. You know, they recommend there are some more long-term solutions, so we're going down that road, and we'll get 2 quotes, so we have 2 quotes.
There's a control panel problem. And this control panel's age, that unit is already, I don't know how old, I think still left, but, you know, they get to be, remember when it was built, Chris? Was it 2020?
Bruce Casden
2005?
was town council, that's all I remember, so.
Yeah. So
It's
that
long
could be
coming.
20-some years old, so control panels, as they age, there's problems, or you can't even find parts anymore. So it's unbelievable how you have to deal with those problems like that.
You know, when we get into budgeting soon here, you'll start to see probably a few things for the liquor store, capital-wise.
Very good, thank you. Motor vehicle department?
Hi, good evening, council members, mayor, and sorry I'm late. Been a crazy day again, as always. I didn't get to, come last month, but we've had a really hectic, July and August. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy in my office, if you ever come through there at all. Just a couple things, the 2023 omnibus transportation policy bill, our office received one-time compensation for all the deputies got a compensation. And we received from the state $20,000, which was nice. It's something that we weren't expecting, so I'm happy about that. And it all goes, you know, yeah, how it's based on the amount you get is from the previous fiscal year's total of our motor vehicle transactions, so everybody gets different amount. But it was like something like 6 million or something like that. It was quite a bit. A lot of changes in our, because of that omnibus bill, we have, I don't think I've ever seen a list of changes that we will be doing, July, August, October, and then January is going to be a big one. Of just different things that will be changing. Like our driver's license went up right now, not for our benefit, for the state's benefit. They're getting like $6 more per driver's license. But they are going up again if anybody has to do their driver's license. For us to get a fee, they're going to go up again in October. So, and then, you know, of course, our sales tax went up, so that's sometimes an issue when customers come in. We also are getting a filing increase on our titles and long forms come October 1st. Driver's license, you'll be getting an $8 raise come October. for a new application, and just in a renewal, we'll get a $3 renewal. An upgrade for just a renewal on a driver's license. Yeah, so it's gonna cost us a lot more for driver's license. We've been seeing such an increase just with the state's increase. Nobody has really said anything. I think people are just used to the inflation and they just are just used to paying, but I have one today, it was $89 for a driver's license. And that just boggles me. And then come October, we're gonna be doing driver's license for all too, so that's gonna be a new situation for us too. And so we'll be doing a lot of training on that with the state and learn all the procedures and what the documentation people are gonna have to have. But it sounds like those people will have to take a written and a road test, so it'll all be it's always changing, so it's something new for us to go with the flow. Let's see, we also, in come January, we're gonna be able to print out driving records, which we've never been able to do in our office. It always had to be done at an exam station. Vehicle records and title records, and we get to charge a fee for that, $10 or $9, depending on if you're certified or uncertified. And accident reports, we've done from that, and we'll be getting training on that. Of that $10, 50 cents goes back to the BBS, actually, which is kind of a weird thing. We're getting some new license plates. We had some inquiries about those already, those don't come out till January. But we're getting a Lions Club, Minnesota Pro Sports Team Foundation plate, missing and ordered indigenous relatives, and a blackout plate and a gold star plate. So we already had gold star, but this is like a no fee plate for people that are applying for the gold star. So. And then all our registration taxes are going to be going up first from January. I just have a lot of good news, don't I?
Full of good news.
Yeah. One good news is that this 100% disabled vets are going to be getting free driver's licenses and free registration on up to 2 of their vehicles. So that's a good thing. Yeah, so that's great to hear. So, but I think we're going to have a lot of, I've already had people come in, but I'm 90%, so that's just as good. And, yeah, so I think we're going to have some issues with that too in January. We've had a lot of changes in the DNR also. Those are already, a lot of them have taken effect already in July. There's just way too many to mention now for all our changes that we'll have to learn to do. We've been having some issues with some unhappy customers lately. Just trying to do our best to help them. We've had a lot of strange encounters with some of the issues that have been coming up that we've never had before. So we just do the best we can, email, phone calls for them, and all that. But sometimes it just doesn't work, and they don't like to hear what we have to say. So, but on the other side, we have many customers that we've had come in that have complimented our office many times during the day, which we're very grateful for. And we're getting people from Duluth, McGregor, from Mount Carlton, from Asco, Sandstone, Hinkley, Willard. We get a lot from the city, so we always, when they say nice things to us, we just say, well, welcome your business and come back again. So, yeah. But that's about it. I don't know if you have any questions for me or any
Council, any questions?
I'm just curious, working off, how many kids are coming in to do testing? Is that
We're
really
getting a lot today. I had I had 7 people do exams today, and that's quite a bit. One was an adult, so people that lose their license and have to do like a reinstatement or taking their insurance or whatever, and they have to come in to do written tests, so we get those too. One thing we are losing is, as of August 1st, they discontinued where out-of-state residents that move into Minnesota, they used to have to take a written test. As of August 1st, they don't have to anymore. So we're gonna lose those, but they're coming in now. They're new, but we're not getting that exam. So, yeah, but we are getting quite a few, and I was just thinking about it this morning. When school starts again, I'll notify all the schools again to have it put on their bulletin board too. And that's needed last time. Yeah.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to say that I did get a phone call this week of a really happy customer from the DMV. She was just very appreciative of the kindness and service she received in our office. She was ranking our office above other offices, which is always fun to hear from a competitive standpoint. But I did get a communication this week that was very positive about the work that's happening in the motor vehicle department, so thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we hear that all the time from people, so I think we're doing okay.
You're doing great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Technology, library department.
Guys, thanks for having me back. IT update. Last week we met with Julia Gabhart. She is our new IT advisor with BC3. She's been very responsive. We're really happy with her. So things are great there. We went over a lot of open tickets, so some things that weren't resolved, and we were able to close out a bunch of those things, just pending things that they wanted to check on to see where we're at with stuff. And then tomorrow I meet with her again and the DSC person. His name's Eric. I have to go over the camera server stuff information, and then moving forward, like how much money would we need to budget to get a full-on fix for the camera servers next year. So that's what I have for that. I should mention this. Through our talks last week, she pointed out that a lot of our workstations, so we have this replacement schedule where it's 2 per year. We did Darren's and I think Karen's this year. We're doing 2 per year. So when she looked it over, so she's new, she's looking over all of our stuff, she had noted that there's gonna be quite a few that are not Windows compatible, so of course we're gonna need to ramp that up next year. So we'll probably be replacing maybe 10 workstations next year or something like that. So yeah, more to come on that, I guess. Just wanna put that in your ear, just so you're not shocked.
Questions by the council? I want to go back because I to the liquor store down the Chip there. Something I forgot, and I know Phil was working on this too. Did we come up with a handyman that could be called to repair some of the small stuff?
We're working on that, yep.
Okay,
Yep,
all
that
right,
is in the works.
very good, thank
He's
you.
got a guy that knows a guy, so.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Moving on to city engineer. Monthly update for July and monthly update for August 2nd.
Yes, so as promised, July's meeting minutes are in here for your review. I will briefly go over August monthly meeting minutes. A lot of these items we either have touched on in different department reports and or will. One of the things that was discussed at our latest engineering meeting is just kind of planning for a project schedule for the phase 2 of the Trunk Highway 73 trail. So our city engineers are going to work on a project and funding schedule. This will give kind of milestones, and they'll start planning out design process and funding timelines. So now that we were awarded that second grant, they're going to take a look at when our grants money will be available and when it has to be spent by, and then they kind of come up with a great schedule for project facilitation and funding. So So we're working on having that by next month, and I can share that once we receive that. It's really exciting. In addition, the 4th Street Reconstruct project has kind of wrapped up from a facilitation standpoint in the background. It looks complete, but there's a lot of items that happen in the background. So we are awaiting our final pay-up on that. Once I receive that, I will bring it to council, but the 4th Street Reconstruct project is almost completely closed out, which is also exciting. Other than that, please feel free to ask any questions if you see anything that comes up. Again, our engineering meetings are always open as well for council attendance if you'd like. Lots of things happening, and we try and give as much updates as we possibly can, but it's also kind of fun to be in them and go through each item and kind of dive into them. So that offer is always on the table as well.
Any questions by the council? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. And 4G, the chamber meeting today.
Oh yeah, the chamber shared, they're really happy with their summer events that have taken place. Agate Days, the 4th of July festivities, 99 golf event, all of them were a success. They're kind of wrapping up with their reporting so we can give some financial updates in future meetings, but really excited about that. What's nice now is that we've started to engage in wrap-up meetings, so we coordinate very heavily with the chamber on these events. We've started to conduct meetings after the fact that just kind of go over the event and items that could improve the event in future years are brought forward, so lots of good proactive work happening in the background on those. The triathlon, and there's a Ragnar race this weekend on Saturday, so that's something that's coming up, and then they've already started their Brewfest planning as well. So lots going on from a chamber perspective.
Questions, council? Hearing none, we move on to the number 5, previously discussed business. Under A, City of Moose Lake Campground boondocking discussion.
Superintendent Edna will provide an update on the
Sure.
boondocking.
Yes, so at our last meeting, the council asked me to go out and get some cost estimates for removals of, there's almost 4 yards of blacktop, there's 200 feet of concrete curb and gutter, there's like 210 feet of fence, figured out to less than $1,000 of removals, and then approximately 16 yards of class 5 to maintain, or to basically build up a driveway ramp type deal road into that area. Not all the way through it, just to establish where a driveway would be and then have it usable so a vehicle could get onto that area. So the question was, how much is that gonna cost? Less than $1,000. That's what you guys wanted me to bring back, so that's where it is. If we want to move forward, we will start. But that's where it was left.
All right, open up for discussion.
Maybe do a survey. Are we going to do a survey?
So we're not able to conduct a survey through our current reservation system. What we could do would be a survey through like Facebook or something like that. Wanting to be mindful of expenses, we can pay for a survey as well. So we were just kind of kicking around ideas of looking into that, and we haven't gotten any farther other than just, hey, we could do a Facebook survey. Our reach with that, we'd have to pay to have a specific reach. Other than that, it would just be people who follow our Parks and Rec page or our city page that could be engaged if we didn't want to spend any monies with it. So looking for direction. As far as the survey is concerned, we have not completed one.
It's not all accurate, that would be when people are following the page, that doesn't mean they're using our services.
Correct. That's how we felt too, internally with our discussions.
How about on the reservation page, for campsites? Is there a place for a question there?
So we have email lists, but as far as a survey, and you have to be careful too, because some people have opted in and some people have not opted in, and so the more we inquired with that, we might be able to do something of that nature, but it didn't appear to be easy either. And everybody who's currently already camped at our campground, camped with our services, whether it's water, electric, or sewer. So maybe not necessarily the audience looking for boondocking as well, so.
It's not a lot of money, I guess I would say, it's not a lot of money to get it started. We put it in, we add it as a service that we have, and then see how it goes. If it doesn't go well, we get down and invest that much money in the project.
Sure.
I guess one thing for me is to try to get it going sooner rather than later so we can get the advertising out there. You know, obviously this year, most of our prime camping time is over, but if we were able to start advertising it now, then people would be aware that it's available.
Yep, all the sites would need to be put on camp spots. We generally have a picture of each site, so we want to kind of have the work done so that then we could have the photographs associated and or dimensions, things of that nature. All that's included in each of the site reservation descriptions as well. So just kind of wanting to know, once we got that figure, how council felt on us continuing to, you know, put time and resources and money towards it as well. So wanted to be mindful of that.
Where in the budget would it come from? Let's say we do approve this.
So
Select board?
we have some repairs and maintenance line items in the campground. We have some capital money set aside, although we have a bathhouse renovation that we need to do, so we're trying to be mindful of that project and make sure that those expenses are dedicated to that once the season wraps up. I think it would be really easy for us after the season's done for us to say, here is where some extra monies are available within that budget if they are, and then a decision could be made at that time. That just then eliminates the opportunity for us to have any impact this camping season. It would be in preparation for next year, and then utilizing extra budget monies from this season.
So council, you could dedicate this with a motion. With you two working on the budget, but when is the appropriate time to do this? When you know that you're not, you know, overspending, or knowing that this season is just gonna be the prep for next.
One thing I would add to Mr. Rowan's statement there would be, I mean, you're right, Councilor Lawler, we should, it's already past the prime camping season, I feel that, but if we could promote this throughout the winter, right, and have pictures all set up, if we had a deadline before snow to even get pictures of all the sites, so we are ready first thing in spring, right, it's all over with, there's no wrap-up construction, there's no demolition has to happen, there's no gravel work needs to be done, it's all done. However, I can't guarantee we're gonna get it done together, or, you know, I mean, if the fall is nice, it might be just before Thanksgiving. It all depends on what we want done, what we don't want done.
You would almost, you know, in order to advertise it, you would have to get pictures of the campsites, so you would have to like do the gridding out of it so you could take the pictures before you could start the advertising for it.
Our camping season ends on October 1st this year, and so we have a little bit of a window here too as we're looking at this season's budget and next year to kind of determine what monies are left over too. So, you know, if council's okay with us having a little bit more of a stretched out timeline to facilitate, I feel confident we could find the money in the campground budget. It's just, we want to make sure that nothing else comes up and that nothing is neglected that was previously budgeted for. So, just have to be a little bit of an extended timeline here over the next 60, 90 days that we're working with. So if that's okay, we would proceed that way.
Council?
I'm fine with that. I'd also like to see if we could put on that reservation site coming soon, boondocking, we
Sure.
can like a website thing that says coming soon, so.
And if we can get the pictures and stuff, our reservations for next year don't go live until January 1st. So as long as we can have it advertised before January 1st, I think we'll be good to go for next year.
Well, and with that, I think we could put it on the Facebook pages coming next year, you know, more details to follow or pictures or whatever. But get the word out that it's coming, one way or another.
Do you have a motion? Move ahead.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Wait, I need a motion. I don't know what to
I'll make a motion to move ahead with that and give, I guess our city administrator and, public works, or city workers, to, approve or choose the right timing and funding when it's available to move forward with the project.
You good, Paula? Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Phil. Moving on to 5B, ordinance number 170, an ordinance for the keeping of livestock and hobby farms. And I think this is our second reading of this ordinance. Is it the third one
So
already?
this is our third. We've done a few modifications each time, and so I will have administrative assistant Taylor, I will have her give an update on what work she's done on this. In addition, we still have a requirement of publishing, so we do have to publish this on in the newspaper and on the city webpage and things like that. So that requirement has not been met yet. What we're looking today is to make sure that everybody is in consensus with the modifications that Taylor's worked on based on previous discussion.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Administrator Owens. So based on discussions, I unfortunately missed last council meeting, but I was able to watch it. And so based on discussions that were had then, we have made some modifications, allowing up to 15 chickens in city limits. The numbers for that were based on research from the University of Minnesota and other agricultural sites. Coops must provide 4 square feet of space per chicken, and each chicken must also have an additional 10 square feet of run space, so making sure that they have enough space will also help to ensure that things don't get messy and smelly and provide those nuisances. I also added in here that coops and enclosures must be located in a backyard and at least 20 feet from any property line so that coops aren't butted right up against somebody else's garage or house or whatever. And still no roosters. And then in the nuisances portion, we just made sure to specifically call out clucking and crying and other noises that chickens make, and that things need to be kept sanitary so that flies and other insects cannot find a place to breed. So on top of that, we did did research on other cities, and there are cities that require a permit. The easiest way for us to facilitate that at an administrative level is to just do a one-time permit so that we're not trying to keep track of who's due for their yearly renewal and whatnot. So as it stands right now, it's a one-time fee of $100, and then we can keep track of who has chickens within city limits. And then that money can also help with the enforcement of this ordinance. So, are there any questions for me?
Council?
Not thrilled to have them in the city limits, to be honest, but I do like, C being put in there about the nuisance, the flies and the smell. And that if there's enough teeth in this ordinance that if it's bothering the neighbors in any way, they would be able to have chickens. And I like the fact that the only thing is we're not talking about the other animals that were mentioned.
Yes, yep, chickens only.
And I guess we can always look at it again if there's an issue.
I know last time there was a discussion on not having any roosters because of the noise.
Yep, and that's in here as well.
Okay, which one was that?
Number 4.
Number 4, in bold, no roosters.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Do we know about how many people in town currently have chickens? I mean, I know about 2.
I
We
know
don't
about
have a
3,
count.
but that's, I know 3 of them. You know. We'll find out, I guess, once
I can say from an administrative standpoint, Taylor and, you know, city staff in general has really tried to just dot our i's, cross our t's. A lot of research has been done about what other cities do, from an agricultural standpoint as well, building in as much as we can to minimize nuisance moving forward. This is a result of a lot of work and effort and, you know,
Yet it
accommodations
allows
for
people
everybody.
to have chickens if they like them.
Correct, the 4 square feet and 10 square feet for run space will also help, it does just help keep the numbers down as well. So it facilitates allowing chickens, but also, you know, you have to have adequate space to take care of them properly, and to prevent nuisance. So that's a checks and balance that went in that was researched and well thought out.
Louise, could you come up to the mic?
Have to, I can
Just,
speak
just,
loud.
well, just so the
Just a
community,
comment.
just so the
15
community
chickens
can
is a lot.
hear
I've
you.
had chickens in town for years. That's why I'm here. This meeting has going on.
Okay.
And 15 is a lot of birds. I think that's too high for a town our size.
Thank you for your input. That is also why number 3 was added in too, because it's up to 15, but you also have to accommodate the space allocations within the ordinance.
And
So
nuisance ordinance.
you got
Should
it.
have two.
You got it. Yep. So there will be few lots and or coops that can accommodate 15. You have to be able to check every single point off the ordinance.
Because that's a pretty big group for
Correct.
15.
You got it.
Right down.
Thanks, Taylor, appreciate that. Any other questions?
Yeah, I didn't see on here, I did read it a couple times, and we've had it for a while. Is there anything that deals with, to make sure that they're not in the home? In the home, I work in St. Paul, and it was numerous times, we had roosters and chickens try to come after you when you go in the house, so. Oh, yeah.
Interesting. There isn't anything currently in the ordinance, but that is definitely something we can look into adding for the next meeting.
I would like to have it in there for a strictly prohibited from being in the dwelling.
Will be kept in a home.
I do have another question, and I've read this a few times, but I don't recall and can't. Is there anywhere that they have to be kept in the coop in the run area? They can't be like roaming all over their yards and.
There isn't anything specifically saying they have to be kept in their run, so we could add that in there as well.
Because what if, you know,
You
they're
cannot have free roaming chickens.
running into the neighbor's yard and, you know, the geese are bad enough coming into the yard and leaving a
I
mess.
really like these.
Me too.
Chickens stay home, right?
You know, just,
Yeah.
or they're not running out on the road and, you know, and
We can add
Say
that
something
in
else
under
about
the
it.
provision for.
free ranging, no free ranging.
No free range chickens.
What if they had an area fenced off for free ranging or something?
Well, as long as they remain in their yard, I guess, conduct, I mean,
Chickens must remain on your property at all times.
yeah. I guess 'cause that's more what
Every
I
now and
get.
again, I get a chicken loose, but they really don't go very far. They pretty much stick, but that's a good point to put that they really should be confined
Yeah.
to their space.
Very good. Do we have consensus on these items that have been brought up to be added in? Greg,
I'd like to see that, I guess.
Chris? Yeah. So we have consensus to add those into the ordinance.
We'll add those in and then we will publish. And so, you know, if everybody feels prepared, we'll publish and then we'll look for, the ordinance to be adopted at the next council meeting, if we're ready.
Can I just ask you a question? How long have you had chickens?
Ted, how long have we had chickens down the block?
I
Many
know
years.
about at least 4 or 5 years, but
Oh, more than that.
I can't remember.
Since I retired. I had them before I retired.
Yeah.
Do you live up on the hill then, or?
We live on Sioux Hill, we're right across from Northburg.
Oh, okay.
We have 4 lots, so we got a whole backyard. And it's,
Never, in all the years
can you
walking
ever
by,
hear them?
I have never heard it.
Because when a hen lays an egg, she is proud. Lets everybody know, but it's not at 4 a.m.
That's right.
That's when the roosters are a problem, because they're saying, oh, everybody, let's get up and go, and it's 4 in the morning. So, hens are probably yelling at about 10, 11 in the morning when they lay an egg. And they don't yell as loud either.
My dogs had never heard him because he never tried to take off in your yard to get him.
They don't come up to your house, you can put some corn out. You can feed them.
Yeah, sounds good.
And one day they did get out of the, we don't have many dogs, which is really nice. But, sometimes my chickens do get out, and they don't go very far. But the dog came, and I had a bird over at Mike's, trying to figure out, now what do I do? Now what do I do? And we were there, we got her. Yeah. We have really high fences, so, I don't like them out, because then they're in danger.
Yeah, but you said so.
All right, I think we have consensus. Thank you very much, Taylor. Appreciate it. Thanks, Louise, for your input.
Yeah, I think it should be regulated. That's a good idea.
Thank you. So moving on to see Moose Lake Gravel Pit update.
So the last time we met, our job for the month was trying to distinguish a buffer limit around where our future gravel is going to be, and everyone you remember meeting me out there. And we have anywhere from 40 to 80 feet of a strip of buffer. And I'm not making that decision, so good luck.
Council,
Mr. Mayor, I asked for the 80 feet. I don't know if anybody else did, but looking at the 40-foot buffer that we drove along in between the two fields, I thought it'd be a lot more respectful to have 80 feet. I think then there would be a clear defined zone, and it would be very hard to see through that.
I would rather err on larger than smaller.
Chris, consensus?
Well, I mean, I didn't walk it off, so I don't know what the 40 is, but, I mean, I agree, I would rather err on than have it a little larger than smaller.
Sounds like 80 feet, Greg.
Well, when I went out there, I mean, it made little difference which way it would go, because the cemeteries and me are never gonna be filled, and it would make a little difference, but it might as well go to 80 feet, and it can never be argued.
We can always be made smaller, but not larger once it's cut. So,
And
looks
that
like,
gravel pit is gonna end up being a cemetery.
right. So it looks like consensus, 80 feet.
I'll give them notice to proceed tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Louise, you are welcome to stay or you can
I
leave.
think I'll go.
It's up- You can do as you say.
It's getting a little warm in here, and I can, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Under new business, 6A, the 2022 audit exit presentation.
Just when you think you've had enough of me. And just some more nerd talk. Well, CLA, that's the city auditors, due to some scheduling conflicts, we really couldn't come up with a good date and time, so Alyssa and I asked them just to send the presentation. I'm gonna go over it with you. To be completely transparent, I've only been through it a couple of times myself, so I do know that the principal auditor, Doug Post, he made some notes in here, so you'll see some stuff with his pen in here. And then we'll just go from there. If you have any questions, either today, I'll do the best as I can to answer them, or if you have questions later, I can definitely answer them then too, or get an answer from the auditors. And away we go. So this is our exit auditor conference presentation. So our agenda, we're gonna go through the intro, required communications that they have to communicate to us, internal control communications, Minnesota legal compliance, financial results, and then key issues in summary. Their audit team, it consists of the following professionals. They have over 51 years of governmental accounting and auditing experience. 4 of them are returning auditors. Any questions on that slide? Okay. Required communications. There's a separate letter required by statements on auditing standards. There was no difficulties in conducting the audit. Let's see, no disagreements with management, that's us. They issued a clean opinion on the financial statements, and they'd like to thank all of us for working so hard on the audit, so it was done by the deadline. Any questions on this? Internal controls communications, material weaknesses. These are deficiencies in internal controls such that there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement would not be prevented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. So the first 3, segregation of duties, year-end closing procedures, financial statement preparation, those are all pre-existing things. There is one new, a bank reconciliation, which is, they put in parentheses, number 22. If you guys have any questions about the new one or any of the old stuff, I feel like we've communicated already kind of what happened.
Yeah, segregation of duties comes up every time we audit because we're such a small office that we can't physically do that.
Yep.
And I think everybody understands that. No, pretty much all small cities are in the same boat. They have a staff of 2, 3, some have only a staff of 1. So to do the segregation duties is impossible.
It boils down to, with such a small staff, with a lot of different departments, we wear a lot of hats and we cross-train, so a lot of us do the same thing, so we know in case somebody leaves, right? So,
Thank you.
all right. Internal controls communications continue. Significant deficiencies. Deficiencies in internal control that are less severe than material weaknesses, yet important enough to merit attention by those charged with governance. None in 22, 21, or 2020. This is cool, according to Minnesota legal compliance. We tested the city's compliance with the 7 legal compliance categories. For example, cash and investments, bond indebtedness, contracting, tax and increment financing, etc. As required by the Minnesota Office of the State Auditor to determine the city complied with the applicable Minnesota statutes. They have one thing on here, debt levy, 5% in excess of principal and interest, carried forward from 21. This was corrected in the 23 budgeting process, not an issue for the 23 audit. Then we get into financial results, it looks like governmental and business type activities. Net position increased 1.9, previous year was at 2. Approximately 35% of net position is unrestricted. Previous year was 41%. There's about an 8 million increase since 2017. General fund. Stop me if you guys have. Total fund balance, 2,015,648. 21 it was 2.6. That's a 618,000 decrease due to more expenditures in 22. Then we have our unassigned fund balance, 207,591. In 21 it was 1.4 million thereabouts. There was about 1.4 million in capital outlay for 22. We all know what that was. Correct.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so between the road project, and between our trails, we had built up our fund balance to be able to facilitate our road project. We spent 1.3 on our road project, completely depleting those funds, and now we start to build them back up again. So in addition, there was a $330,000 grant that has crossed years. So we will be getting reimbursement for expenditures for the trail that occurred in 2022, and our reimbursement is going to come in 2023. So that's another impact that we're seeing in addition to our first ever road project. So it's kind of interesting to see what happens as we accrue monies for our projects, our infrastructure projects, and then how when we spend them down, we're depleted and we just start that process back up repeatedly.
So completely planned for,
Correct.
no alarm bells. Governmental fund revenues, taxes and IGR account for 82% of total revenues in '22 and 84% in '21. The $278,000 increase in governmental revenues primarily due to decreases for COVID assistance, small city assistance grants. Governmental fund expenditures increased about $718,000 in '22. 22 increases mainly in capital outlays for the street project. Pretty self-explanatory on that one. Long-term liabilities, governmental funds. That's the next page. He has a note here, debt payments made per prepayment schedules. So you'll see the going down. Long-term liabilities, proprietary funds. He has some notes down here, down $290,000 in the revenue notes line item, $420,000 general obligation bonds, and up $16,000 in compensated absences. Proprietary funds revenue expense comparison for the liquor fund. Come on page 14, in case you're following along. Operating revenues increased $54,491 in '22 compared to '21. Operating expenses increased $69,654 in '22 compared to '21. So expenses increased more than revenues.
That trend is changing, though, correct?
The trend is changing. Things are starting to level out here.
Do we know where the major part of those expenses increases came from?
So
You'd almost have to do a forensic.
we've had some internal discussions and internal dialogue about where our expenditures were increasing. We can absolutely give a snapshot for 2022, but those are some of the discussions that we previously had when we had red flagged and said, look, our expenses are increasing faster than our revenues are, and we're outpacing ourselves. So inevitably, as you'll see here on the next page too, the liquor fund decreased in 2022, and that was something that had been called out previously. And so we can give specifics as far as what line items those were. But we have had some of these discussions, and we can give a summary just to kind of refresh everybody's mind.
Right. I could tell you a few different things right now, but I would want to tell you with 100% certainty.
I think you realize what it led to last year.
Next page, gross profit percentage liquor fund. Gross profit percentage increased by 1% in '22 compared to '21. Liquor fund showed operating income in '21 for $204,567 and $189,404 in '22. That includes the $25,547 of depreciation. Sewer fund, page 16, looks like. Operating revenues increased $44,362 in '22 compared to '21. Operating expenses increased $78,529 in '22 compared to '21. Water fund. Operating revenues increased $81,671 in '22 compared to '21. Operating expenses increased $15,162 in '22 compared to 2021. Motor vehicle operating revenues increased $24,194 in '22 compared to 2021. And operating expenses increased $22,263 in 2022 compared to 2021. Yes, way to go, DOT.
I would just like to call out, this is the first time we've seen that. So they have been really creative with ways to generate revenue in there. You know, selling ATV plates and manuals and testing, and they've really been working hard to come up with other revenue streams. And I think what we're seeing here is it's paying off. So this is the first time, because we do support the DMV fund with general fund monies with a transfer every year. And this is the first time that our revenues outpaced our expenses in the DMV with all the fees the state requires. And so they're kind of pushing in the right direction. So absolutely a plus for the work that they've been doing.
I think the ramped up meetings have been helping. Electric fund operating revenues increased $2,572 in '22 versus 2021, and expenses increased $9,574 in 2022 compared to 2021. Key issues and summary page. He has a bullet point, levy amounts for debt service deficit is an issue. He would probably go on more about that. Fund balance is strong in the general fund, but much is restricted. General fund was up $1.35 million over budget for expenditures, primarily due to $1.3 million unbudgeted capital outlays in general government. The general fund was $534,000 over budget for revenues, primarily due to intergovernmental revenues. And the liquor fund continues to increase in net position. Thank you to all of you for allowing us to serve you. CLA will get you there.
We will have a full financial statement available for every city councilor to analyze and assess in addition to the PowerPoint presentation. We always have them available at the city offices as well. That's all public data.
Would it be more helpful if I also emailed this to everyone? Because I just got it, so I printed it out enough for everybody, but I can also email it.
Any questions by the council? Good job, Ryan, appreciate that, thank you. Actually, I think we're doing quite well considering the inflation has increased since 2021, 17.5%. And I think everybody feels that at your home or your business. And so considering that, I think we've done real well. There's a few areas that slip, but it's nothing compared to what it could be.
Sure.
So thanks again, Alyssa, for the management of that, and Ryan, and Taylor. Appreciate it.
We'll start the budgeting process for 2024 here. So we should have an initial budget presentation in September at the council meeting. So we're kind of starting to work on all that in the background and, you know, work on increasing our position in all of our funds, so.
Very good. Moving on to 6B, 2023 flood event, Carleton County and HSEM update.
So the state did meet the federal threshold as far as the flood event is concerned, the 2023 flood event. So with that, the city is eligible for 100% reimbursement between the state and FEMA for all of our expenditures. So we attended a meeting. The Homeland Security Emergency Management team came to Carleton County, and so we met with them last week, I believe. So now we start the process of submitting all of our documentation and things like that we've been working on in the background to help get reimbursement for those expenses in 2023. In addition, we were made aware of FEMA 406 Public Assistance Mitigation. And what that is a fund that's dedicated to funding projects to help mitigate damage in the future. And so we're looking to do our due diligence on that to see if there's any type of project that could be funded with those monies in order to prevent future damage. So what does that look like for the city? We're working on that and making sure that we are due diligent and get whatever funding we can to reimburse our costs, but also look at preventing additional damage in the future. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Would those big blue ladders be part of that, do you think?
Yes, it would, but there's a cost share with that portion of it.
Still, though, the time element with those would be great.
Absolutely. I've brought quotes for those here before.
Yes.
And I will gladly drum them back up.
So this is the first time, though, I've seen where they actually would help fund something like that. So we definitely need to be on top of that one.
Yes, absolutely. Will do.
Any other questions to the council? Moving on to 6C, Elm Avenue parking discussion.
So, the city administration has been contacted by a few business owners on Elm Avenue regarding parking issues. So, it's been asked that the city council take a look at it and have some open discussion. I know in addition that Chief Jutman was contacted as well over some neighbor disputes regarding the same subject as well. So, we were working with Chief Jutman as well on this particular topic. So the request has been made to the city that there be some type of adjustment or modification, whether it be business hour parking or a limited hour time frame of parking and facilitation of such. Reason being, some of those business owners have parking that's being taken up in front of their established businesses that the cars never move. And they stay in the same place for the extension of that business hours in general. So they don't have anywhere for their customers to park.
I guess I can tell you, the theater's been having trouble out in front of there, all of Elm Avenue here. The vehicles that are the issue are the ones that are from the apartment complexes in here. Either it be the old Carol Inn or the apartment across from the theater. There's 3 units up above there, and the guy will rent it out to 2 people to each one. They can each have 2 vehicles, so that can be up to 6 vehicles. And then they have friends that come and visit at times. And sometimes they even have a second vehicle that's in bad shape or whatever, and they'll leave them parked out on the road there. Sometimes there's vehicles parked out on the road on Elm Street here. I've seen them parked for up to 2 weeks. It depends upon the renters. There's renters coming and going, and I always try to communicate with them and ask them, can you try to find, a place to park that isn't taking up business space? And some of them will be helpful for you, and some of them aren't. And the way it is now, if you have a vehicle parked in front of your business and you go up and say, well, could you please move it? I'm open for business here. You don't have anything to stand on to be able to get them to move their vehicle. Like I said, some of them will be agreeable to it and some not. This guy that bought the apartment across from the theater there, for many years, it must have been for well over 10 years, that building sat basically vacant for a long time, and nobody wanted to purchase that building for one reason, because there simply isn't any parking for that. They have 2 spots behind the building that they can use, and that's not anywhere near adequate for what they would need if they have that 3 apartments up there. And then they also have the business down below, and there's workers for that. I'm not quite sure where the workers are parking right now, but I do know that all the all the tenants are always out on Elm Avenue. And, you know, I've talked to this guy that owns that building when we were having issues with the dogs, go to the bathroom all over downtown and then up on the roofs. And talking to the previous owner, this new owner, he bought the building sight unseen. And I've talked to one of the renters up there that lived there for 4 years, and he never ever met the owner of the building. And the owner has a company manage it for him to find the renters and stuff like that. And when I had talked to him on phone, I told him, you know, you can't have all these dogs here and that. And he was like, okay, I'll try to work on that. And then like about 3 months later, it wasn't even that, about a month and a half, the first people he rented it out to were people that had 2 large black labs. So the guy doesn't really listen to when you call him up and share your complaints with him. I haven't been able to get anywhere with him. I've just given up talking to him. And then the cars out front, it also leads to snow removal problems. There's always somebody sitting a vehicle out there, and that I'm always having to come and talk to Phil about, hey, can you get those vehicles to move, and that. And it's a hassle for Phil's street department. And I look at it, when they turned that to a one-way and took down the 2-hour parking signs, to my knowledge, the city never came and talked to any of the businesses about taking those signs down. So it was just kind of done without the businesses being aware that that was going to happen. And you know, I've talked about this issue with Tim and Katie, that I've just briefly touched with it with Alyssa, because I've just been frustrated with the whole thing. But I look at it, if there was a parking, if you could do 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. business parking only. And it doesn't really matter to me if they're parked down there for 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours, as long as they're doing business downtown. You know, one of the problems is how do you enforce this, you know, through law enforcement, you know. If there was 2-hour parking, then the cops would always have to be driving by. And
I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been there myself on several calls with the parking issue on Elm Street. The businesses call because they've talked to the tenants, and the tenants say, yes, I'll move my vehicle, and then come in the middle of the afternoon when customers want to park, they won't move it. So then they call law enforcement, and I go out there and have to talk to the tenant, hey, would you please move your vehicle? It's legally parked. You know, and 9 times out of 10 they do move it, but it is a huge issue.
mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to spend a lot of time on it.
You've seen me spend quite a few, I've been out there
Mm-hmm.
on Elm Street quite a bit with the parking issue. We have to come up with some form of sign or something where, like you said, between the hours of 8 and 6 or 8 and 5, customers only.
The problem with when you have like 2-hour parking or whatever, and it's till like 6 o'clock, then they come and they just park at 4, and then stay there from 4, you know, those last 2 hours. That's why I had, and being at the theater from 8 to 6 doesn't exactly help out the theater, because we're open later into the evening, and so is Poor Gary's, and so is the hair salon across from the theater. So there are other businesses that are open later into the night. But it's an issue. It's supposed to be a downtown business district, and over the years more apartments have come in, and it's just causing an issue. I do know that if we still had all these retailers downtown here, I know that like Murkowski and those guys, they would not have allowed this to go on as long as it has been going on. But there needs to be, you know, you could call this guy and try to tell him that he needs to explain more to his renters too about the situation. But the fact is that he just does not have the spacing for that many people using that business, you know, and these other businesses, they pay their taxes downtown and that, and they should have a right to be able to have parking in front of their businesses.
I think the next step then, you know, for bringing this up, then I think we're obligated to look at that. We should canvass the other businesses on Elm. I think that's an obligation we need to do.
Okay.
I know years back, when we first were going to change this, I had owned Florist at that time. And it was a hardship then, but the problem at that point was employees parking on the.
Sure.
So we were trying to find a solution for people, you know, employees to be able to park off so the customers could use the parking, so.
I think the employees have not been doing that so much lately, but I would say that there are employees parking on 4th Street. And that, you know, like from Port Gary's and that, and they have a lot of workers over there, and so on like Friday and Saturday night, they could have 5-6 cars there. I'm not so much concerned as their delivery vehicles, but there's just that problem with downtown. Of course, to be able to find parking, sometimes I think with the old water tower lot there and that other lot there, if there could possibly be some parking put in there, there's an awful lot of utility poles in the way there, and it's actually not a very large piece of property, but could be possibly an option to opening up more parking for downtown for problems like this.
I think we have consensus to take that step to canvass the businesses downtown and bring that back for an agenda item for next month. Yes, please.
If I could just interject really quick, from an enforcement perspective, we would just need something to enforce, I guess, for us to be able to, an ordinance or something that allows us to go there and say, hey, you need to move, or this is what's gonna happen. And then if they don't, then obviously, so, and I agree, Council, I mean, I thought that myself, you know, how can you get people to come to the theater whenever they want to park? You know, so yeah, we as a police department would just need something to enforce.
All right, we have consensus, thank you. Moving on to 6D, excuse me. Fair chloride question?
Fair chloride acid, so we use that in our wastewater facility. You will see one quote in your packets, the only one I could find. It was the only one I could get. I reached out to Flex Suppliers, and that was it. It is an awful lot of money. However, it is in the budget. It was budgeted for in 2023. So yes, that's where we are at. And we are in pretty good units on right now.
Good for 30 days, and how long is the product, how long will it take to use it up?
What's good for 30 days?
You know, your,
The pricing,
Right.
yeah. I mean, they'll honor that.
but I mean, how long does this
That-
last you?
That'll last us all year. That'll last us till this time next year, which is,
Okay.
I purposely try to buy in July or August because prices are a little bit cheaper.
Gotcha.
I made a motion to approve Hawkins, quote for, 1356. Fair.
Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 6C, Moose Lake Fire District Board Appointment Discussion. I think all of you know that Bob passed away, and he had been, he served on it for many, many years for the district, the city. He was a representative. We have one council member, Councilor that has been on it now for
5 years.
5 years already?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You've done a good job, Walter. So- So we have an option right now, we can assign another council member to the fire district, or if there are none, we can open it up for public interest to see if there's someone within the city limit that would like to serve on this board. So do we have a counselor that would like to serve? A counselor? Walter? Chris? Doug? Okay. I'm sure you don't want me to sign?
You already did that a few meetings ago, just so you're aware.
You know of one person, I think, that is
I
interested.
did hear of one person that's,
We do have to open it up though, I guess, so
Okay,
could we advertise that, please?
yes.
Anything, Counselor, you'd like to add to that?
no, no,
Okay. It's one meeting a month. We meet on
Tuesdays, 6:30,
the second Tuesday,
second Tuesday.
6:30 at the Emergency Response Center. And they usually go about an hour. There's some of them go over that. Last chance. All right, I guess we will advertise.
Okay.
Thank you. 6F, roof hail claims bid contract discussion.
So F through N are closed.
F. Okay, so we are gonna go into a closed session. So F through M, all those items will be discussed in the closed portion of the meeting. That brings us down to N, iPads.
Yes, I was just wondering if, these iPads that we're using currently are, probably, 3 city administrators ago. I was wondering if maybe next year we could budget to get some new ones. I know now we're replacing a lot of computers, so maybe, but I've been having some problems with mine holding the charge and, just wondering if we could look at.
If you're definitely having trouble with this, I mean, we could maybe look at which ones aren't working properly or not. Is that?
We'll look at, see if they have package deals, singular, we'll look at pricing, and we'll talk to our, to VC3 regarding replacement and come back with some options.
Before you guys leave, I can just see the version and stuff you guys run.
Take a picture.
Say that again.
I just want to look at what you're using before one of you guys leave. I'm assuming you're all the same thing.
They all were purchased.
Very good. We'll go through 7 through 9 before we close. Number 7, reports and correspondence, 7A, the Minnesota Department of Education, 2024, certification of minimal local support.
Yes, so this is just a communication from the Minnesota Department of Education. This is the minimum, threshold for expenditures for the library for 2024. So we'll be looking at this figure when we budget. We've had some issues in the past not hitting that mark, so we're going to make sure that we do so.
The next correspondence, 7B, Craig Prudhomme, Agate Days, thank you. I probably have that in there. And I believe Craig is stepping away from spearheading the Agate Days. He's been doing it for, I don't know how many years.
Yeah, he's
Many years.
He's done a very good job.
Yeah,
It's been fortunate to have him.
Yeah. So as he is thanking us for the support, I'd like to thank him also for a good job of running Agate Days all those many years. 7C, Kathy Stokey, City Council Communication. Melissa?
Just a letter that we received from a citizen. If anybody has any questions or wants to have a discussion on it, please just let me know. Kathy wanted to make sure that this communication got to council.
Any questions by the council? Anybody? Moving on to 8 committee and board meeting minutes. 8A is the park board regular meeting minutes for July 10th, 2023.
I got one thing on the fire department minutes, they didn't have them ready for some reason, so we'll be getting them next month.
Thank you.
On the park board also, our next meeting will be meeting at the arena, and that's where we do the walk through all the parks. So council members are welcome to come through that if you want to. Number 9, announcements. We're gonna have Moose Lake City Council meeting Wednesday, September 13th at 4 p.m. right here at Moose Lake Economic Development Authority, Wednesday, August 16th, 12 p.m. at the City Conference Room. Moose Lake Water and Light Commission regular meeting Tuesday, August 15th, 1 p.m. Water and Light Office. Moose Lake Housing Redevelopment Authority Board Monday, August 14th, 11 a.m. Hillside Manor Office. Moose Lake Area Fire District Tuesday, September 12th, 6:30 p.m. in Emergency Response Center. Moose Lake Park Board Monday, September 11th, 5 p.m. And actually we'll be meeting at the arena, not right here. So with that, do I have a motion to close our regular meeting? We are not adjourning, we're closing.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.